We're back at the world famous Wiener Circle in Chicago, Illinois, Lincoln Park neighborhood. And right now we're enjoying a Mezcal Paloma, which is delicious, by the way.
Yeah.
This is really refreshing, especially on a day like today and on a seasonably warm 88-degree day. It was like 40 degrees yesterday.
It's like hot, more than that. It's like 90 something. It's
Yeah,
ridiculously hot in Chicago for a May day.
Have swamp ass right now.
Doesn't that bother you?
And we're also enjoying some cheese fries. Are you a cheese fry man?
I am a cheese fry man.
I fucking love cheese fries, eat them with a fork. I think that's the best way to prepare fries.
With the Merck's cheese sauce.
Merck's is the best.
Fantastic. You can't go wrong.
Also the healthiest. And while we're at this great restaurant, we're talking about another movie that's associated with a restaurant. One of my favorite, my favorite, I want to say comedies of the last, whatever, because it's not, one of the best, I don't think. But there's something charming about it. That movie is
Waiting.
I hope you enjoyed everything. I know I did.
Is everything prepared okay?
How about some dessert?
How would you like your steak prepared?
The 5-second rule, the 5-second rule. 2, 3.
We almost had to switch to the 10-second rule.
I didn't see this right when it came out, 2007, I think, but a few years later. Mm-hmm. But the ad for this movie always stuck with me because they always showed them the scene with the most disgusting scene in the movie when the woman returns the steak, sends the steak back to the kitchen, and they spit in it and dandruff and put pubic hair on the steak. They showed part of that in the ad, and the movie just, even though it wasn't like a box office hit and a huge movie, it was kind of like an indie film, that always stuck with me, and I thought about this for years at a time. And I am hesitant to ever send back food at a restaurant.
I mean, that's bold to put that into the commercial.
They didn't show the details. They showed I think Dane Cook or whoever spits in it. So they showed somebody sending back a steak and they go.
That's still bold.
Yeah.
To show that.
But this, and then after I saw the movie, I've seen it several times, and I love this movie. It's hilarious. But there are several things about it that make me hesitant to ever be mean to a waiter, which I would never do in general. But send back food, anything like that. Did you ever work in a restaurant?
Well, so I was actually going to talk about that. I think it's one of the important things that everybody needs to do in their life is they need to work in some sort of food service and they need to work in retail. Because if you don't work in either of those two elements, you could be a real dick to people. That's where Karens are. Karens have never spent a day working in retail. Karens have never spent a day working in food service. And I spent 2 summers working in food service. You have a respect for it. And the whole tagline is don't mess with people who handle your food, right? That's one of the taglines of this movie. And that's 100% true. Never mess with people who are going to handle your food.
And this movie really opened my eyes to it. Maybe it's because I was 13 when this movie came out or whatever. I didn't think about it too much, but I really do. This movie reinforced, and I think it hits the nail on the head. I don't know if you want to say where you worked when you were in food service or if any horror stories from behind the scenes.
No, the only thing I'll say is the one thing that sticks with me is, there's actually 2 things that stick with me. Number 1 is I would leave work and I would reek of panini. Greasy, grease panini. Because this place where I worked, we made paninis. And the oil from the panini machine, I would just reek of it. And then the other thing was, there was this one dude who was intoxicated. I happened to work at a place where it was people would be intoxicated. Not unlike at the Wiener Circle where people come at night and are intoxicated and talk back. Only as a high school kid, I could not talk back to these people who were clearly in their 20s and 30s, day traders or worked at the Board of Trade, total D-bags. But this one dude ordered some sort of drink from the fountain, a fountain drink. And I got his pop ready for him. And he accused me of blowing into his drink.
Cool it off.
And I was like, dude, I didn't do it. And he's like, oh, and he got all angry and made me pour it out and get him a new cup and pour him a new beverage, which, what the hell do I care? It's not my beverage machine, not my, not my money. But those are the 2 things that stick with me. And that dude, yeah, I totally should have spit into his second beverage
But you're not a monster.
But I'm not a monster. Like, I'm not an asshole. But, I might be an asshole, but I'm not a terrible person who would do something like that to somebody's food
Right.
or drink.
But the thing is, I'm sure it doesn't happen that often, but it happens.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to happen. Just the unsanitariness of how they handled the kitchen, and like they were showing each other their ball and waiting like their balls and stuff, and like
Yeah.
all the dicking around, like behind the scenes. I worked at a little place, mom and pop place called Cold Stone Creamery.
You make me smile like the sun, fall out of bed, sing like a bird, dizzy in my head, spin like a record, crazy on a Sunday night. You make me dance like a fool, forget how to breathe, shine like gold, buzz like a bee. Just the thought of you can drive me wild. Oh, you make me smile.
I think I mentioned this on a prior episode.
I think you did.
And I have so many horror stories. I don't care if they want to come at me, sue me, whatever. These are all 100% true.
You can't handle the truth.
And I don't care if Cold Stone Creamery is embarrassed by it. Just do not have the best.
They're still around, right?
They're still around. Oh, they're still around. I remember this must have been like my third or fourth day in Cold Stone Creamery. I don't know if I should say the location of it. I don't know how hard I should go on this particular Cold Stone
Is that
Creamery.
location still around?
I'm pretty sure. I haven't been back to it. I've never been back to a Cold Stone Creamery since I stopped working there. And I may never. But I was opening the store, and I'm like getting everything ready, and there's this giant dead fly in the sweet cream ice cream. Like giant, like just raisin size, like massive. And I'm new, it's my third day, and I said to the team lead, I'm like, what do I do with this here fly? And she's like, oh, just scoop it out. I'm like, I don't have to throw out the ice cream or anything? She's like, nah, just take the fly out. So I take the fly out, we open the store at 11 a.m., woman comes in, first customer at 11 a.m. gets sweet cream. This is how like good of a person I am, not just not a monster. I scooped around in like a really weird way to get around it, but somebody had ice cream that day that had fly debris in it. We had a dude brought in we were closing up the shop one night, and a dude went out back and found a frog and brought the frog in and let the frog loose in the back area by the ice cream.
Was he like pissed off at you
Well,
guys? Like,
everyone that worked there was a jag-off. It was exactly like waiting. Like, it was a bunch of like lowlifes. So it was like a frog jumping around, and the manager was screaming, ah! And people were like chasing the frog. People were laughing. I'm like, this is disgusting. I am so gross. I mean, maybe it's a couple bad apples, but I was so grossed out from that experience. And then, like you said, like it is a good experience to work in food service or retail, because I had to deal with customers all the time. Never had like a really bad experience with a customer, but I was like anxious about like wanting to do right by the customer and like making sure everything was appropriate. And Cold Stone's very expensive, very overpriced, and people would sometimes complain about the prices. So I would always undercharge people. So I owe Cold Stone a lot of money. At one time there was like a family of 5, and like this big line, because it was right next to a movie theater, so like it was always busy, and I'm like going really fast, and I don't want to overcharge them, so I purposely like undercharge them by like $6 or something. And the dad is like counting up, so he's like, this isn't right, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna get called out, I'm gonna get fired. Thankfully the wife's like, come on, we gotta go. But I would undercharge people all the time. I owe Cold Stone so much money.
well, good job for anybody that caught Joe on a day.
Right, yeah. But then you had to tip. When they tip, like you had to sing a song. It was a whole thing.
People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening.
But that crew at Cold Stone was very similar to this. Like just a bunch of people that are immature. Didn't have like the Ryan Reynolds character that's kind of creepy and like hesitant to sleep with an 8 to 17-year-old girl.
Real creep, Ryan Reynolds.
I must say there is nothing more attractive than tainted youth. Yes, I am indeed a pervert.
A joke that would not fly now.
No.
I'm kind of actually surprised that it's still. I mean, it's fine because they don't. I mean, I don't even know if it's fine. It's very, like, it's weird to watch now. A manager that's kind of a jackass, and there's always one guy there who, like Justin Long's character, that's like, I don't want to be here. I should be in college. Like, what am I doing? When am I wasting my time?
Yeah.
So I think it nails all the dynamics of working in a restaurant or like a store or something.
Yeah, for sure. And this movie I don't think I saw. I didn't see it in the theaters, but this was one of those movies. I've talked about it before. How Comedy Central, when Comedy Central used to do comedy
all the time.
and do like movies, like this was a movie that they showed all the time.
Ton,
Like,
yeah.
it was like this movie. It was Idiocracy. Like there was
Yep.
just a couple that they just showed all the time. This was one of them. This is 2005. This movie is right at the peak of Dane Cook and the ascension of Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
really?
I think that's
right.
accurate,
Like
yeah.
even though Ryan Reynolds was in Two Guys. Even though Ryan Reynolds was in Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. Even though Ryan Reynolds was in Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, and was in some other movies in Van Wilder, and things like that. This is kind of like the intersection of the two of them. But this is really like a Justin Long vehicle.
Oh,
And-
100%. And Justin Long went on to, he did Accepted like a year later. Like,
and
he
this,
started,
like all of these movies
Yeah.
at the same time with Justin Long, like that's the time frame this is, but like the two different, because like Dane Cook as a comedian was reviled, right?
Yeah.
Because of like, wasn't Louis C.K. calling him out?
Joke
stealing
thief, yeah.
Joe?
Because everything I read about me was about how I stole jokes from you, which I didn't.
I kind of think you did.
But this is still 2005. This is still like Dane Cook peaked like 05, 06. He was
Yeah.
on the cover of Time magazine. Like,
Well, you were on the corner, the little corner thing. It wasn't not like when the president is on the cover.
that's when he was huge. It was
Yeah.
like shortly after that is when the downfall.
Yeah, for sure.
He became oversaturated.
Yeah, and he only has like a small role in this movie.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
not. It's not like a big thing. Like Ryan Reynolds, this is like he's got a big role in it. There's so much with the dynamics of the individuals who are working in this kitchen, and like I think there's one segment where I don't know the character's name, but she's the angry waitress.
Oh, she's so funny. She might be the funniest character in the whole movie.
There was a scene that they wanted to do where everybody basically like shows their vagina, and what ends up happening is she ends up like lifting up her skirt or whatever to show her cooch, and like that's all that they show. But like they asked Anna Faris, and she was like, I just did that in Scary Movie.
Yeah.
And they asked the other actors, and they were like, no, we're not doing that. But like her character with the like, I'm gonna do anything, but I'm angry as fuck. That like it hits in real life too. Like you think about your office,
Yeah.
right? Like anybody's office, you've got one dude who might be a little creepy, one dude who doesn't want to be there. Somebody who is angry, somebody who's all bubbly and cheery, right? Like, and a manager who is just the worst. Like, just pick your environment. Like that's why this movie kind of hits.
One of the funniest scenes is when the angry waitress, she's like yelling in the back, and then they follow her. The camera follows her walking out from the kitchen back to the table, and she like turns a smile on. She's like, "Can I get you guys any?" It was so fucking perfect because I don't have what it takes to be a waiter. Like I could never do it. I have a lot of respect for people who are great waiters and waitresses.
Yeah.
Because I just can't fake a personality. Like I don't like interacting with strangers that much. It makes me anxious. I have every quality that a good waiter has. I can't do it. And when I see these waiters that are really bubbly, but not even in a fake way, they're just like really good at like seeming engaged and being like, "Hey, how's your day going? I'm Joe. Can I get you anything? Blah 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 blah. Great, I'll be right back with that. Blah blah blah." I'm always like amazed. It seems like a low bar, but like I can't do that, and I wonder what they're like when they leave the table.
Yeah.
You can't possibly. It's got to be partially an act,
It
especially
always is,
when you
for
do
sure.
that 40 times in a night.
I mean, even in an office, right? Like, it's an act
Yeah.
for the bubbly person.
100%. I'm glad that I'm not in an office setting anymore. Like you and I worked in the same office for a couple of years. The pandemic like conditioned me to never be able to do that again.
Yeah, for sure.
Fuck that.
Somebody else who's in this movie that was at the height of their career, Andy Milonakis.
Yes. And talk about the height of his career was not that long.
No, he was like the life of a star, burning bright and fast and then out. Although I do want to note, Andy Milonakis has become a grandmother, a Florida grandmother, in case you haven't seen him recently. He's on TikTok and
I've seen him on TikTok, yeah.
with his glasses and like his whole like he looks like a Florida
funny.
grandmother.
I wonder how old he is now, because when he was huge in like 04, 05, around then, I felt like he. How old was he in the movie? Do you know? Like he had to be a teen.
I mean, he's older
20s?
than me.
Is he really?
He's older than me.
God, he's really fucking old. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, that's yes, but he's older than me.
That's wild. Yeah, because I don't even know. It's weird when you peak of doing something that's very niche to that time period and you're really young.
Yeah.
Like I wonder, I think like Bo Burnham's having a career probably as a director and like a filmmaker because he's had success in that. But it's weird to see somebody who gets famous in their 20s. I always wonder that about Bo. Like, what are you going to be like in your 40s?
Yeah.
You see people like these TikTok stars that are in the 20s. What is the rest of their career going to be? They're not going to be still doing dancing on TikTok.
Well,
Addison Rae's not going to be dancing on TikTok when she's 45.
I don't understand that element of it. Like
I don't either.
I don't get it. And especially because it's funny because they've all been called out for stealing their dancing and their dance moves from other, like, in particular, these white women stealing dance moves from minority women and getting away with it and what, like, and yet here they are, like, making millions of dollars because likely with the two sisters, the D'Amelios, right? I think their parents, like, dropped a whole bunch of money to make that whole thing happen. But, like, okay, great. Like, what do you, oh, I'm dancing, like, ooh. Who cares?
That's where your parents invested in that.
Well, hey.
Invest in college or something. Like I don't know.
I don't know. I don't get it. There's a lot I don't understand, and that's just one of the things I don't understand.
But to the point, Andy Milonakis, who would have thought, like, he would have no idea how to predict his career from, like, 2004 onward.
Yeah.
And apparently it's...
Because he had a show.
Yeah, people love that show, too.
Because it was, like, the very beginning of the 2000s that his Super Bowl is gay video came out.
The Super Bowl is gay. The Super Bowl is gay. Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl is gay.
Which is like what launched him to stardom, and everybody thought he was this like 9-year-old kid.
Right.
Even though he was not. He was like 18 at the time that he made the video.
But talk about not just star power in this. We've named several people that are huge or were huge.
Yeah.
Star power that is very 2005.
Oh, yeah.
This is like an extraordinarily 2005 movie. And there's, I mean, whoever's listening to this, I think that's going to make sense to them. It's very stuck in this. I mean, Ryan Reynolds went on to be huge after this. But it's very like, as someone that lived through 2005, 2006, which I can, like, I'll argue that 2004 to 2006 is like a terrible time for comedy. I'm not going to back this up right now. I've had a mezcal paloma we're half in the bag. We're eating cheese fries. I don't need to get into the details of it, but that's just a theory that I have. Is like, I associate that with like shitty movies, shitty comedy. I don't know why. I can't back this point up.
I can understand, even though I can't back it up either.
Yeah, like I don't know why. This is how I feel. And this movie is, even though I love the movie, it's like a time capsule of 2005.
Yeah, although the rub to it not being a time capsule from 2005 is Luis Guzman.
Now look, the main thing to remember is to get the other guy to unknowingly look at your cock and balls. Okay, don't just fucking pull down your pants and say, "Look at my dick."
Yeah,
being in this movie,
he's very funny in the movie.
He's eternal, like being in this movie. But love him being in this movie. So this movie takes place in a restaurant called Shenanigans.
Yeah.
Which is kind of meant to be like Bennigan's,
yeah.
Right? Of course, a few years later in Super Troopers, there's the scene with Farva.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Hey, Farva, what's the name of that restaurant you like with all the goofy shit on the walls and the mozzarella sticks? You mean Shenanigans?
Oh. I'm going to say that Waiting and Super Troopers take place in the same universe.
Okay.
And there's another reason why. Not just because of Shenanigans and kind of the time frame, too. Early in the movie, there's a German couple sitting at the bar, and they're speaking German in an Austrian accent. And I believe it's the guy who talks about the waitress's breasts and is like, she's got great breasts. which, of course, in Super Troopers, you have the two Germans, the German man and woman who are driving the Porsche and get pulled over and put into jail, and then end up having a relationship of sorts in that movie. I think we're running into the same kind of elements here, and that might be, even though it's not physically the same German couple, it might be the same German couple.
Can I expand on this?
Yeah.
And this is in the same universe as Office Space, and Tchotchkes and Shenanigans are rival chains. Kind of like Fridays and Applebee's and Bennigan's and Chili's.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's all the same, because like Tchotchkes, I don't know if it's the same set. The inside of Tchotchkes looks like the inside of Shenanigans, which isn't that outlandish of a claim, because you've ever been to a Chili's and an Applebee's. It's the same restaurant.
I want to talk a little bit about the game that they play, because for two elements I want to talk about. First, the fact that they call it the game. I also feel like this is a very 2005 thing.
Showing your junk?
Well, not that element of it, but calling it the game. Because for a certain segment of the population would remember that in about 2005 or so, there was something on the internet called the game. And if you said the game, you already lost. And it was a whole thing with 4chan and...
I don't remember this at all.
So it was like a whole internet subculture. And I can't be the only one that remembers it, because I do see every now and again, even like on TikTok, you have people of my generation and like slightly younger than my generation, where they're mentioning it. The game. And if you Google it later, like you'll see the game is a whole.
I'm so lost on this
thing. Well, anyways, it's a whole internet subculture, and it's like the epitome of 2005. But the whole thing of showing people your junk, I feel like, again, of a certain crowd, like being in college at this time. But this movie came out as I was graduated from college.
Okay.
And I was in grad school at this point, but still could associate with what it was like in college. And the idea of showing people your junk, or saying, like, and I'm not going to say who it was that would do this, and I'm not going to say that it was me, and I'm not going to say that it was not me, or that it was somebody that I might have known that would play a game called I Sat in Some Gum.
What?
And this would involve wearing a pair of shorts, saying, oh no, I sat in some gum. And the same thing like with this game, right? Like you look at somebody's junk, you get punched, right? I sat in some gum and happened to, like, the shorts were managed in such a way that a certain part of the anatomy, which could look like sat in gum, might be exposed. So I understand that a game like this would be played in a kitchen, not so much. But
no, I totally get it. A group of dudes after like 2000, like for some reason I feel like 30 years ago dudes weren't playing this game. They might think it's like a little like,
so like
not in a homophobic way.
The
but
mid 90s.
Oh fuck! When I say 30 years ago, I think of the 60s.
Yeah. It's 30 years ago is like the mid 90s. So
all right, let's go back 50 years ago. Not in like a homophobic way, but they'd be like, that's a little like gay to like do that kind of thing. But when I was in junior high, which is around this time, we would always like tap each other in the balls, like someone would sneak up behind you and do like a little nut tap. And I can't believe that we thought that was funny.
Oh, we
were in so much pain. You'd be like on the ground at recess, like screaming. We also did this thing called Rhino, where you charge at somebody when they're facing away from you, and then when you get up to them, grab them and you jam your knee in their ass. It hurts so bad.
So the clap game or the slap game or whatever, we had a version of that, but we had rules to it too. And like, in order to play, you had to, if you were going to do that, you had to double clap. to be able to give enough notice.
Oh, you guys were nice.
So it was like
ruthless.
And then, you'd get.
That sounds way better.
The worst were the glancing blows.
Yes.
Not even like the full on
Yes.
straight punch to the dick, but like the glancing blows, like those were the worst.
The taps hurt way more. We used to do like a full on like bam, like hard punch to the nuts, and that hurts obviously.
Yeah.
But it was the taps that hurt way more. The worst one I ever got was we were in gym class. We're all lining up to do push-ups at the start of gym class, like a warm-up, and my friend Dom goes up behind me, and I'm like in a push-up position, so he's like, it's perfect. He reaches down and just goes on my scrotum. I'm down. I can't do a push-up. And the teacher's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I can't get up and down. And I can't believe we did this. We thought this was funny.
Yeah.
But this is perfect. Like guys would do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even now, I had some friends in college, friends of mine from high school who went to a different college. I'm just trying to disassociate myself from this game. But this game in their fraternity called Sneaky Nuts.
Okay.
And it's where you're about to take a photo in like a group setting, it's just like anywhere. And right before the photo happens, you unzip your pants, take out your balls, and put them out. Just the balls, not the dick. So I have a bunch of photos.
So a little bit of something about Mary, right? Like how,
Yeah,
how do you
right.
get the beans above the frank?
Well, how the hell did you get the beans above the frank?
Yeah, which is really hard to do. So yeah, they tuck it out, and then these photos that I've seen of them or people in their fraternity where their nuts are just hanging out of their pants. Guys are disgusting.
This checks out as
Yeah.
somebody who was in college at this time.
Yeah.
That fully checks out. In a restaurant setting, might be pushing
Gross.
it.
But I told you about the frog in Coldstone.
Yeah.
There's a gross ass frog hopping around the Coldstone, and we can bleep it out just to be safe in Illinois in the shopping mall. The frog jumping around, fly in the ice cream. People are gross outside of the restaurant. They're gonna be gross inside the restaurant.
Oh yeah. As a note, that mall or strip mall or whatever had the best Secretary of State office that nobody would go to. At least I believe it was right.
Mine's in
Okay, so
Lake County.
All right, so
But
this is
I
also in
blacked
Lake
everything
County.
out, so
This
I
is
don't
also
know.
in Lake County, but this is Waukegan, south of Deerfield.
I've never heard anyone say the best Secretary of State office.
It's surprising, I know, but it's the best because nobody would go there. Like, there was nobody there ever.
The last thing I have to say about the movie, because you love sequels, is they made a sequel, Still Waiting, and I think 2010, 2009. Ryan Reynolds, I haven't seen the sequel. It's panned. Like, people hated it.
Ryan Reynolds is in it?
He's not in it.
Oh, okay.
So his career takes off. You're talking about The Ascension. Doesn't reprise his role as the kind of rapey guy in the restaurant, which is interesting.
I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't.
I do love this movie, though. I think the score is... I think it had kind of like you said, the Comedy Central thing that happened to like Office Space and Idiocracy. I think it has sort of a cult following, so I think I'm going to go high sixes on this. Like 6, 8.
I mean, I agree. I also feel like people are big about it because of it makes sense and don't fuck with people who handle your food.
Relatable, yeah.
So I'm gonna go 6, 7.
6, 7.
Fuck. Damn.
I'm on fire tonight. It might be the hot dogs, it might be the Paloma, it might be the cheese fries.
All great, by the way. If you come to the Wiener Circle, world famous Wiener Circle in Chicago, Illinois, Lincoln Park, Clark Street, enjoy the bar area. We'll be back there. This is the relish room. Get the cheese fries, get a char dog, get a mezcal Paloma.
Yeah.
This is a great time.
And make sure if you are coming after midnight, which is a prime time to come to the Wiener Circle, make sure you get a chocolate shake.
Look it up.